The air was thick with the scent of incense and desperation. Jungkook stood at the foot of his father's bed, his hands trembling as he dipped a cloth into cool water, pressing it against his father's burning forehead. The room was dimly lit by flickering candlelight, the shadows on the walls dancing like restless spirits. The healer had come and gone, shaking his head with a sorrowful gaze. There was nothing they could do. Jungkook clenched his fists. He refused to accept that. Outside, his fiancée stood in silence. Taehyung had always been soft-spoken, gentle, but never strong enough. He had tried to comfort Jungkook, whispering, "Sometimes, we have to let go." Jungkook had turned away from him. Let go? How could he let go when his father, the only family he had left, was slipping away? The villagers whispered of forbidden things, of lost gods and ancient promises. Of a ruler who governed death itself, who could give life just as easily as he could take it. Jungkook had never believed in those myths. But tonight, as his father's breathing grew weaker, he had no other choice. The night was cold as Jungkook stepped into the dark forest, his heart pounding with every step. The path was overgrown, the trees towering above him like silent sentinels. He had followed the old woman's words, "Go where the moon does not shine, where the air is thick with silence. Call his name, but do not tremble." Jungkook swallowed. Taehyung. His voice was barely above a whisper, but the air around him shifted. The wind stilled. The trees stood frozen. And then, a presence tall, cloaked in shadows, eyes burning gold. His face was sharp, devastatingly beautiful, but marred by a scar running from his temple to his jaw. The stories had not lied. This was the king of the underworld. "You dare call my name?" Mortal Jungkook's breath hitched. His legs felt weak, but he stood his ground. "I need your help," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. Taehyung tilted his head, amusement flickering in his gaze. "They all do. My father is dying." A smirk curled Taehyung's lips. "And what will you offer me in return?" Jungkook hesitated. He had nothing. No riches, no power. Only himself. "My life," he said finally. "Take me in his place." The air crackled with unseen energy. Taehyung stepped closer, the scent of something dark and intoxicating clinging to him. He raised a gloved hand, fingers tracing the line of Jungkook's jaw. "A bold offer," his voice was silk and steel. "But I have no need for another soul. I need something else." Jungkook swallowed. What? Taehyung's fingers trailed down his neck, stopping over his racing pulse. "Be mine." Jungkook's breath stuttered. "What?" Taehyung smiled, slow and knowing. "Come with me. Be my bride, my consort. Pledge yourself to me, and I will heal your father." The words settled between them like a heavy weight. It was madness. He should have turned and run. But when he looked into Taehyung's eyes, he saw something else lurking beneath the amusement, something old, lonely, aching. A god who had everything, and yet nothing at all. Jungkook's lips parted. "You promise?" A gloved hand slid to his waist, pulling him closer. "You have my word." And just like that, the deal was struck. The next moment, the earth opened beneath Jungkook's feet. Shadows swallowed him whole. And he fell into the arms of the king of the underworld. The world was shifting. Jungkook could feel it in his bones, the way the air changed, how the warmth of the mortal world faded, replaced by a cold that seeped into his very soul. His body was weightless, suspended in the endless descent into the unknown. And then, suddenly, he stopped falling. He gasped, his lungs burning as he stumbled forward. The ground beneath him was smooth and cold, obsidian marble that stretched into the vast expanse of darkness. A palace loomed before him, towering structures carved from onyx and silver, glowing faintly in the dim, eerie light. "Welcome to your new home." Jungkook spun around at the voice, his heart lurching. Taehyung stood a few feet away, his golden eyes glowing like embers. The shadows curled around him, as if they obeyed his every command. He was no longer wearing the heavy cloak from before. Now, dressed in midnight robes lined with gold, he looked every bit the ruler he was, ethereal, dangerous, untouchable. Jungkook's breath came fast. His mind screamed at him to run, to fight, but where would he go? "This isn't my home," he whispered, voice shaking. "It is now," Taehyung countered smoothly, stepping closer. "You made your choice, Jungkook." Jungkook flinched at the sound of his name on Taehyung's lips. It felt intimate, like a secret being whispered into the dark. "You tricked me," his fists clenched. "You said you'd save my father." Taehyung raised a brow. "And I did," Jungkook faltered. His father was alive? A snap of Taehyung's fingers, and a vision materialized before them. His father, lying in bed, color returning to his face, breath steady. The sickness was gone. Jungkook choked on a sob. He's really healed." Taehyung's voice was quiet but firm. "A god never breaks his word." Jungkook turned to him, emotions warring inside him. Relief, fear, confusion, desire. It was absurd, but standing so close to Taehyung, feeling the pull of something unexplainable between them, Jungkook felt it deep in his chest. The weight of the bargain settled on him like iron shackles. "What do you want from me?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Taehyung reached out, his fingers ghosting along Jungkook's jaw, not forceful, but possessive. "Everything." Jungkook shivered. The forbidden palace. He was led through the grand halls of the underworld, Taehyung walking beside him, silent but ever present. The palace was unlike anything Jungkook had ever seen, ornate but haunting, with walls of moving shadows and chandeliers of black crystal that pulsed like a living heartbeat. "Why did you choose me?" Jungkook dared to ask. Taehyung didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stopped before a set of massive double doors. They creaked open, revealing a vast chamber, a throne room. Jungkook barely had time to take it in before Taehyung turned to him, pinning him with his gaze. "Because you intrigue me," he murmured. Jungkook swallowed, pulse hammering. "That's it," a smirk curled Taehyung's lips. "And because the last person who tried to defy me didn't survive." A cold chill ran down Jungkook's spine. Taehyung lifted a hand, and before Jungkook could react, a thin band of black metal appeared around his wrist. Jungkook gasped, tugging at it, but it wouldn't budge. It was cold, pulsing against his skin like it was alive. "What is this?" Taehyung leaned in, voice low and velvet smooth. "A reminder," he whispered, brushing his fingers over the band. Jungkook trembled at the touch. "That you belong to me now." The band around Jungkook's wrist pulsed like a second heartbeat, cold against his skin. No matter how much he tugged, it wouldn't come off. His breath was uneven as he looked up at Taehyung. "This isn't fair." Taehyung arched a brow, unimpressed. "Fair," he chuckled, a deep, velvety sound that sent shivers down Jungkook's spine. "You made a deal with death, Jungkook." "Did you think it would be fair?" Jungkook swallowed hard. He should be afraid. He was afraid. But there was something else beneath the fear. Something dark and intriguing about the man standing before him. Taehyung was nothing like Jinyoung, his gentle, soft-spoken fiancé. Who had never fought for him, who had always hesitated. Taehyung was power, control, and certainty wrapped in a form so devastatingly beautiful it made Jungkook's chest ache. "You promised to save my father," Jungkook whispered. "But you didn't say I'd be your prisoner." Taehyung stepped closer, his presence swallowing the space between them. "You're not a prisoner," his golden eyes gleamed. "You're mine," Jungkook's pulse stuttered. "That sounds the same to me," Taehyung smirked, his fingers ghosting over Jungkook's wrist, tracing the dark metal band. "You don't understand yet, but you will." A shiver ran down Jungkook's spine at the way he said it, like a promise. The king's consort Jungkook was led through the palace, his mind still spinning. The halls were lined with torches that burned with blue flames, casting eerie shadows against the dark stone walls. They passed servants, pale figures draped in black and gold, bowing silently as Taehyung walked by. It was a strange, surreal world, and Jungkook was part of it now. "Where are you taking me?" he asked, voice small. "To your chambers," Taehyung replied. Jungkook frowned. "I thought you said I wasn't a prisoner." Taehyung shot him a side glance, amusement flickering in his golden eyes. "Would you rather sleep in my bed?" Jungkook's breath caught. He rushed to his face, but Taehyung had already turned away, striding forward like he hadn't just said something so damn infuriating. Jungkook glared at his back. "I hate you," Taehyung only chuckled. "No, you don't." Jungkook clenched his fists. He did. He had to. His chambers were breathtaking. The room was vast, lined with high windows that overlooked the endless darkness of the underworld. The bed was draped in silk, and strange, glowing flowers bloomed in vases, pulsing faintly with light. It was beautiful, but it wasn't home. Jungkook sat on the bed, trying to calm his racing heart. And then, the door opened. Taehyung entered without knocking, his dark robes flowing behind him like living shadows. Jungkook shot up. "Do you not believe in privacy?" Taehyung ignored him, stepping closer. Jungkook took a step back, but his back hit the wall. His heart pounded as Taehyung reached out, tilting his chin up with a single finger. His voice was low, dangerously soft. "You don't belong to the world above anymore, Jungkook. You belong to me." Jungkook swallowed hard. "Then what are you going to do with me?" Taehyung's eyes darkened, his thumb brushing over Jungkook's lower lip. "Everything,"